Hi, Alan Zundell of Political Dharma coming to you once again on Saturday, August 3rd, 2024, my second video of the day, coming to you via my smartphone because I have not yet received my computer, desk, camera, microphone, and all that from the movers. So I'm here in my new home in California saying hello to you all, and this video is going to be a follow-up to the last one, this one focusing specifically on how the candidates for the presidency are doing in getting on the ballot in the various states of the United States. Let's start off with independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. On Wednesday, he announced that he has now been approved for the ballot officially in 13 states, submitted signatures in another 19 states, and collected enough signatures to get on the ballot in another 10 states, making 42 states in which he's met the requirements for being on the ballot, even though in most of those states it has not yet been certified by the state. They say they have well enough signatures, and they have their own independent organization verifying those signatures to make sure they have enough before they even turn them in. So that's part of the reason they're doing so well on getting their stuff validated. Of course, there's still legal challenges to them being on the ballot in a few states, mostly or entirely inspired by Democratic Party operatives. We did have a news item this week on one of those cases. This one is from New Jersey. According to the Ballot Access News, the state Supreme Court said that the challenge to Kennedy being on the ballot in New Jersey was not yet appropriate to be in the courts. So they threw it out and said, you got to take this first to the Secretary of State. Similar cases are happening in different states on different grounds. In this case, New Jersey, the reason the challenge was presented is because they based it on the so-called sore loser law, which says that a few states have these laws, or maybe a lot of them, I'm not sure how many, in which they say if a candidate has run for the nomination of one party and lost, they cannot then be the candidate of another party. Now, I wouldn't think this applies to Kennedy, even though he had been a candidate for the Democratic Party nomination. He withdrew from that race before the primaries were even held, so you can't say he lost. He simply became an independent and withdrew from that race. Anyway, court said, get it out of the courts, take it to the Secretary of State where it belongs. And there's ongoing cases in other states. I didn't update on all of them, but there's a few. Anyway, so Kennedy looks like he's got 42 states in his pocket, and he's going for the rest of them, which would be, in addition to the District of Columbia, the other states that he's still working on would be Arizona, Kentucky, Maryland, Mississippi, South Dakota, Utah, and Wyoming. All right, what about the other alternative candidates other than the major party candidates? Well, in New Jersey, along with Kennedy, both the Libertarian Party and the Green Party got on the ballot. Also, the Constitution Party and 3 socialist parties, including the Party of Socialism and Liberation, whose nominee, Claudia de la Cruz, has been doing a good job on getting on the ballot in states, not very many, I think around 10. I don't have my list with me, but not a lot, but doing better than most of the socialist candidates from very minor parties. And then, let's see, this is New Jersey, Libertarian Party, Green Party, 3 socialist parties, the Constitution Party, and the Solidarity Party, which is a party based on Roman Catholic social principles, a new party, which isn't on the ballot in too many states, but this is one of them that it made, and another independent presidential candidate, not Cornel West, who nobody has heard of. And then in, let's see, New Hampshire? No, in Pennsylvania, again, the Libertarian Party and Green Party got on the ballot along with Kennedy, as well as the Party of Socialism and Liberation. They all made the deadline for getting on the ballot in that state, Pennsylvania, but the Constitution Party was refused by the state on the grounds that they did not file their petitions from their presidential electors in a timely fashion. A presidential elector is someone who agrees to be that party's elector in the Electoral College if that candidate wins the most votes in that particular state. most of these people are never going to vote in the Electoral College, but still you got to have somebody to do that job and file with the state. So that's New Jersey and Pennsylvania. The main ones being the Libertarian Party and the Green Party. They're getting the most traction in the polls after Kennedy. So they're on the ballot in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. The Green Party also made the deadline in Missouri, along with Kennedy. The Libertarian Party didn't have to worry about getting signatures in Missouri because it was already on the ballot due to its vote total in the 2022 elections. And Chase Oliver, the Libertarian Party candidate, also got enough signatures in New Hampshire, even though the New Hampshire Libertarian Party says it's withholding support from Oliver. And that's, as I talked about in many videos so far, there's a big fight going on in the Libertarian Party over whether or not people are going to support their official nominee, Chase Oliver, who wasn't the first choice when they did their ballot, of a majority when they did their balloting at their convention, but he came through in the end through a process of ranked choice voting. So that's Green Party and Libertarian Party also on the ballot in a few other states. The Libertarian Party, by the way, is also fighting over the joint fundraiser that they're setting up with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. They have an agreement that Kennedy can solicit larger donations because they're going to a political party, and then the Libertarian Party will split those with Kennedy on a 90 for Kennedy and 10% for the Libertarian Party. They're having fights on that as well. This week was a big fight within the Libertarian Party National Committee, as well as it being argued in their Judicial Committee. This news on the fights within the Libertarian Party comes from the Third Party Watch of George Feely's. Let's see. So there was one other item that I wanted to bring up here. What was it about? Oh, this was an interesting one. Before I get off the topic of the third parties getting on the ballot, according to Ballot Access News, on July 31st, there were 2 petitions to put Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on the ballot in New Hampshire. One was being circulated by the Kennedy campaign to put him on the ballot with the We the People party, to get the We the People party, his new party, on the ballot and him as their nominee. The other one was being circulated to get the Libertarian Party on the ballot with Kennedy as its nominee. Kennedy campaign apparently wasn't involved in that effort, and if they did succeed, that means that you would have Chase Oliver also got enough signatures to get on the Libertarian Party on the ballot with him as the nominee. So if both of them succeed, that would mean that on the ballot there would be, in what state did I say this was? In New Hampshire, you would have Robert F. Kennedy Jr., candidate of both We the People Party and Libertarian Party, and then somewhere else, Chase Oliver, candidate of the Libertarian Party. That's got to be confusing, but it shows how much dissension there's going on within the Libertarian Party over their official candidate, and this does not bode well for their vote total in the November election, I would say. All right, let's turn now, now that we've gone over Kennedy, the independent presidential candidate, the leading one, Cornel West, not a lot of news on that front. He did get officially accepted in Maine, but I haven't seen a lot else about him. His campaign is kind of flagging at this point. In contrast to all the efforts being made by these candidates to get on the ballot by gathering hundreds or thousands of signatures in various states, all the states across the United States, let's look at Kamala Harris, who, as of Monday, is going to get on the ballot in all 50 states plus the District of Columbia. This is, just over 2 weeks since she became a candidate for the presidency, since Joe Biden dropped out and she, was put forward as the leading replacement for him. So she's going to be on the ballot in all those, because what happened this week was, first of all, the Democratic National Committee said that it was going to hold its roll call vote for their nominee this weekend. So that's happening right now from Thursday to Monday this weekend. And yesterday, Kamala Harris already got a majority of the delegates to vote for her. Now, this is just about 2 weeks before the Democratic National Convention. So why are they doing it right now? Why couldn't they just wait 2 weeks and nominate her and have everybody vote at the convention? Well, that's what we're going to get to in a minute. So the DNC said it was going to hold the roll call vote this weekend, and the deadline for having declared a candidacy was July 27th. Now that's like 6 days after Biden withdrew from the race. So you had to say you're a candidate to get on this ballot within 6 days, and then they only had 3 more days in which to get at least 300 signatures from official delegates to the National Convention in order to put your name forward as a candidate. Now, according to the news, this is both from, I got the details from both the Associated Press and from Ballot Access News. There were 2 people who stepped forward as candidates. I don't know what their names are. I forgot to see if I could look them up. But neither of them were able to get 300 delegates to sign their petition. On the other hand, Kamala Harris got, 84% of the delegates to sign her petition. Why? Because she was put forward as the main candidate, and all the Democratic Party rallied around her. So the first step was the Democratic establishment, their billionaire donors, and the big wig politicians like Barack Obama, former president, and Nancy Pelosi, the former House Speaker, and Chuck Schumer, the Senate, the leader of the Democrats in the Senate. All these people got together and decided, well, it looks like it's going to be Kamala because we should rally all around one candidate. So they did that. Kamala Harris, now she's got a majority in this roll call vote, and she's going to become the official nominee and get on the ballot in all 50 states plus the District of Columbia. She'll become the official nominee on Monday, less than 2 weeks' time after she even became a candidate for the presidency. All she had to do, she didn't have to go around to all 50 states gathering hundreds and thousands of signatures. She didn't have to pay filing fees. She didn't have to do any of that. All she had to do was find the signatures of 300 delegates to their national convention to become a candidate on this compressed timeline, and then this weekend to get the majority vote, which she was able to do. All the money pouring into her campaign, all the appearances she's making, all the Democratic establishment standing behind her, rallied the troops, and now she's able to bypass that whole long process. Hasn't run in a single primary, hasn't had to gather signatures other than those 300 delegates, and they effectively kept anyone else from running against her. Now, why did they have this roll call vote? The only reason I can think of to go ahead with a roll call vote 2 weeks before the convention was to make that timeline even more compressed, so no other alternative candidate would have an opportunity to run against her and to create any kind of dissension within the party between who backs who. So it was, again, part of this effort to grease the skids for Kamala Harris and have her become the nominee. That's the way our so-called democracy works. Democratic Party is going to save our democracy, even though they don't practice anything like a democracy internally, especially in the last few elections. Not that I'm saying the Republican Party is any better. I don't think they are. And that goes for them even before the era of Donald Trump. They've never been in favor of democratic processes. So that's why I'm covering all these independent and minor party candidates. I don't like that word, minor party. Let's say alternative party candidates, because they're actually trying to create a democratic process in what's a putative democracy here in the United States. That's why I'm doing this, and I assume that's why you're watching, because you're interested in seeing us have a more democratic process. One other item here, and that is that ABC News said that it's going to use the same criteria as that previous debate for determining who gets into their debate in September. So you have to get a 15% in so many polls, and you also have to have your name on a ballot in enough states to get a majority of the electors in the Electoral College, and you have to meet the constitutional requirements. Well, Kennedy is the candidate who comes closest to this. All of them meet the requirements. Pretty much all of them meet the requirements, constitutional requirements. Few of them are probably going to be on the ballot in enough states to get a majority. Maybe Chase Oliver and Jill Stein along with Kennedy. But Kennedy certainly looks like he's on the road to that. He's been doing better in the polls than the other candidates, even though it looks like there was a drop off right after Kamala Harris bandwagon started. He's got time to build it up again, but even though ABC News said they're going to use the same criteria, Donald Trump then withdrew from the ABC News debate that's scheduled for September, and he said, let's do it on Fox instead. He's got a complaint against ABC News, and he's saying, well, because Biden dropped out, I had the agreement with him, so I don't need to do this. On the other hand, Kamala Harris responds that she'll be happy to discuss further debates after the one their campaigns already agreed on. Now, she's talking about their campaigns as though her campaign actually negotiated for this September debate and not Joe Biden campaign, which goes to show that all these establishment Democrats are interchangeable, even in their own minds. Doesn't matter which one you pick, they're pretty much the same. They're going to protect their major donors. And, well, I got on that hobby horse enough for today. Thanks for watching once again. That completes my 2 reports for this week. I'm hoping next week I'll have my setup again and can give you some fancy, or at least my minimal kinds of graphics to show you the stories I'm drawing from, the sources I'm drawing from, and some charts about where things stand. So thanks again for watching. Again, if you'd like to support this channel, go to politicaldharma.com to make a one-time donation, or go over to patreon.com, that is patreon.com / excuse me, Political Dharma, if you'd like to be make a recurring donation. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you, or you'll see me again next weekend, unless I put out something before then.